Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host.
Grandma Gail.
Grandma Gail's in a mood because we couldn't get the podcast started on time today.
Well, I mean, how many times do we move around the camera? We look like what we look like. Just get it going.
You just expect it to all be perfect. Who do you think puts the camera there?
It's you. I admit it. It's definitely you.
All right.
So get it perfect now.
Anyway, this week we have a guest on who is a jewelry designer. I'm wearing the earrings right now because I haven't taken them off.
And they're so pretty.
Her name is Adina Eden Mizrahi. She's the designer and co-founder of Adina Eden, which is a women's jewelry line. Lots of celebrities have worn her. She has a store in New York City.
I think 2 stores actually now.
And is in the process of expanding. And we hear all about what it's like to be an entrepreneur from such a young age.
It's very enlightening and very, I think, really noteworthy. The women listen to how somebody can make a business from nothing and make it something really wonderful. So I think you'll all enjoy it.
Do you know Kim Kardashian's advice to women in business?
What?
Do you know it?
Have a smart mother?
No. She said, get your ass up and work. Nobody wants to work anymore. And she got a lot of shit for saying that.
Well, because I think that's not correct. People do want to work and they do want to do things, but sometimes it's not as easy as it is for her. So let's forget what she says.
We are joined by Adina Eden Mizrahi. She's the designer and co-founder of Adina Eden, which is a women's jewelry line worn by celebrities that Grandma has heard of: Ariana Grande, Kylie and Kendall Jenner, Cardi B, Hailey Bieber, and more. Adina, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Adina.
Thank you for having me. So excited.
So we start by asking all of our guests where they live, their age, and their current relationship status.
So I live in Brooklyn, New York. I am just turned 27, and I am married.
Amazing. We're very close in age. I'm 26. Except she's going to love that you're married and
Exactly.
I'm the single.
But you're close to 27.
Yeah, I am.
You better get quickly getting on Adina's trail.
How did you meet your husband?
So we actually met during COVID, like on this Jewish dating app. And, we really just had this like 90-second speed dating FaceTime. And I guess we both put like a thumbs up after like our literal 2-second interaction. And then from there, he took my number and we just started dating. It was crazy.
So
Wonderful.
Do you
That's
recommend doing a FaceTime before actually meeting the person, like in person, or does it not really matter?
So I feel like it doesn't necessarily matter, but if you're that type of person where you're very specific about what you're looking for and like the type of person that you want to like if you know what you want, I think doing a FaceTime before is actually really beneficial, because then you just don't go on this date expecting like the world and then just, getting your hopes let down. I feel like it's so good. I mean, we did it just as like this dating, it was a speed dating app. But it actually helped so much because like I kind of knew what I was getting into,
You knew what he looked like. You sort of had an idea.
Like I knew what he looked like. I kind of like already felt like I knew him a little bit. He is someone from my community, so like I saw him around, but never really like spoke to him. So I felt like we both kind of knew each other's faces.
Right.
Didn't really put the name to the face and chat, and I feel like that helped a lot for sure.
Well, that's different. That's the whole thing. See, she knew because she was from the same area, so it's not like you're meeting a total stranger from a different state. So
yes,
and that makes it easier.
But I also do think that's like a benefit of dating apps in general. It's like, oh, here's somebody that like I have a bunch of mutual friends with, but I didn't even know they were single. So now like I know, and you have that like way to meet versus not using the app at all. Like, how would you have known that?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like at the same time, like I always said, like it was because of the app that we met each other. Like, I don't like during quarantine, there was no parties. There was no way of like singles meeting other singles. And it was like a great way to meet.
Right. Well, it was great when it came out and it did very well for you. So that's very good.
It did. Yes.
And do you have a relationship with your grandma or any of your grandparents?
Yes. So actually, crazy story. I only have one grandmother who's alive. My mom's mom, I'm named after her. And this business is kind of named after her too, kind of like in her memory. So it's actually like I never met her, I never knew her, but from what I've heard, she's an amazing, incredible woman. And she was like just this like, like she was very powerful. And just to see where the business has come, and like in her name, kind of also like, commemorating her, but
It
also
honors her.
myself. It honors her tremendously, and I feel like it's very beautiful. My grandmother on my father's side, we're very close to, and I love her dearly. But I mean, this is like, I don't know, Adina, it's like a different, kind of
Yeah.
bond. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the business. What is the overall mission of Adina Eden?
So we started off as Adina's Jewels. We were formerly known as Adina's Jewels, which I feel like a lot of people know us as Adina's Jewels. We did rebrand to Adina Eden, and that's basically because we wanted to kind of bring out this new mission of like empowering women and just really young girls in general. Jewelry is something very personal. It also adds a lot of confidence to what you're wearing. And for me, as a child, I was always like bullied. I didn't have friends, and to me, being able to wear jewelry amongst my peers made me feel like I was somewhat equal. And I think, fast forward to today, I just really want girls to know that they look beautiful no matter what, but sometimes adding that little glitz, that little glam to your look can make you feel so much more confident and make you feel like you can accomplish so much more. That's because that's what I've personally experienced with jewelry, and it's what I've kind of learned from so many customers who I've spoken to. And I feel like we're just here to empower women, and we want to kind of like support each other, and that's really what our mission is.
Mhm. And so when did you founded the company in 2015? How old were you then?
Very little.
Yes. I was 18.
Oh.
Wow, it's so
18
young.
and
Take
a
us
half.
through that
Yeah.
journey of like starting the business and why the jewelry business.
So, I mean, it kind of just, I really was just making my own jewelry,
Hmm.
and posting it on Instagram, which at the time, Instagram was very different from what it is
Hmm.
today. And I was just, kind of like, yes, trying to sell the jewelry, but at the same time, like, these pieces are my pieces. They're exclusive to me. Like, what do you guys think? What should I add? And before I knew it, people just really started taking to it. And they were like, I love this. I want to buy this. How can I purchase? And like, I had just gotten a car. I was in my third semester of college. And I said, you know what? Why not do something out of this? Like, I had to pay my way through college anyway. I didn't want to work for anyone. And I figured like this could be a great side hustle to kind of help me through. Like I said, I loved jewelry. Like, I really loved jewelry. For me, it made me feel more confident. And I said, why not like see how people like that also, and before I knew it, I was getting support from my community, and then my community turned into like other people and other people, and
Mhm.
before I knew it, it just expanded, and then it was just like, I don't know, this snowball effect of like, endless glory. And then I got my brother involved. He started our website, and that was when things really took off, because e-commerce is a whole other world. It gives you access to anyone and everyone all around, and it really helped take us to the next level.
Hmm.
And do you manufacture it locally in Brooklyn, or is this any of it done overseas? What is your place where you create these beautiful pieces of jewelry, which are really beautiful?
Thank you. So actually in the beginning, I was making the pieces by hand.
Right.
And I was obviously doing everything here, but today we do have many factories worldwide.
Okay.
Obviously China, we
Right.
have in
Yeah.
Italy, we have in Europe, Spain, like all over. We're very keen on, have like not putting all of our eggs in one basket.
Smart.
And I find that there's different countries have their expertise in different type of jewelry making. So for chains, I would only go to Italy, like, so there's different types of marketplaces for that. So we really, spread ourselves out. And also like when a global pandemic happens and you have, 10 or 15 factories at your disposal, you're not really feeling, the chain reaction of like, there's no goods in the market and there's like no materials, to make. So, to make jewelry. So it kind of like helps you out a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very
And
exciting. And is your brother your partner? Are you both partners in the company and both creative partners? I
So
should
he's
say.
So he's the CEO. So he does
Oh,
not do anything with jewelry. Like
right.
the
You're
biggest,
just
the
running
biggest
the
thing that
business.
he's running the business. Our biggest
Okay.
thing was I'm gonna do everything jewelry and creatives, and he's gonna focus on
Okay.
just being, the number guy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Is
that's what
that
you
always,
need.
I mean, we work with family too.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think are the like best and worst parts of that?
So, I mean, I always tell people working with family is the best because, family's not going to stab you in the back. Family is like, I mean, you could trust each other. Like, for example, I'm leaving tomorrow to the UK. And my brother, I can trust that he's going to hold down the fort, that there's not going to be any issues.
Right.
And that's like a very big thing,
Mhm.
because if not, it kind of, you just don't have a life outside of your business. So that's a really big key thing.
Right.
The downsides, obviously, even though we're siblings, we both have very different mindsets on life. We both have different ideas. We both look at the world very differently. So sometimes you do clash on certain decisions that have to be made right away. Where, like, my brother's more conservative than me. I'm more like, let's do it, let's test it. If we fail, we fail.
Mhm.
He's like, no, like, there's no such thing as failing. So you kind of like get those two. You have to, like, but it's good because you have that
And
balance
bounce it off each other.
Yeah.
exactly. But like we did like early on, we both made a promise that if we are gonna fight in business when we come home, we're not discussing it. Like what happens in the office stays at the office, and
That's
that's like
great.
the biggest key point to take away
What's
from
the
that.
age difference between you and your brother?
We're 2 years apart.
Ah, okay. All
Yeah.
right. So that's great.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
was like obviously the first person you brought onto this. What was the transition process when you were like, okay, this is a business, we're gonna hire a bunch of people? Like, was it hard to kind of let go? Because I know in our thing, I'm like, oh, I can do. They're like, what about the marketing? What about that? I was like, oh, I'll do it. I'll do it because it's hard to trust other people with like your business.
Yeah, it took me a very long time to trust people. I'm
Mhm.
not even gonna lie about that. It was for me very, very hard. Um, for the first 3 years, my brother and I were doing everything, and we were doing it in my parents' basement.
Mhm.
Um, fast forward 3, 4 years later, we finally got like an office space. And then obviously we had to hire people. It was very, very hard. I was micromanaging every single division, which was not good. It took me a really long time to learn how to like trust and like let them make mistakes and then let them learn from their mistakes. um Even today, like now we're going into Black Friday pretty
Right.
much has already started, and like I just saw a bunch of packages come in, and I'm like, hey, like, are you guys going to open this up? Like, if we get this inventory into the system, we could already start
Right.
selling these items. Like, and they're like, yeah, we're working on it now. So like there's always going to be that part of you that's like,
Second
putting
guessing.
out an extra eye and seeing what's going on and like asking
Mhm.
questions. But like that's completely normal as an executive and as someone who's technically managing the business. But then it's like I'm not going to sit down by their desk and open the boxes with them. That's like micromanaging.
Yeah,
So
right.
just like learning how to like have that balance. It's hard at times for sure, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And I mean, if you hire the right people, it's going to be easier. So in the
Mhm.
beginning, we didn't know how to hire. We didn't know what we were looking for. We were just like, okay, this looks great. Like, here we go. But we got burnt a lot. And I feel like if you hire the right people, it's much easier to like relinquish the control
Mhm.
Right.
little
And
by
how do
little.
you know what the right people are? Like, do you get references or just looking at like interview process?
Or
So I
or
feel
or
like
somebody recommended to you, somebody
Yeah, I said
that's that a
referrals.
referral.
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, there's definitely sometimes where you get referrals. But if I were putting out a listing on like Indeed or one of those sites, and I get a resume, I don't really look at the resume. I think, resumes are very easy to, fake. Um, I think I like to see I like to see them in person. I think when you see someone in person, you can see their character, you can see who they are, and like, you just those little things that you really can't see over Zoom or over a phone call. So to me, it's extremely important to meet them in person, and that's usually I go with my gut feeling. I
Mhm.
feel like I'd rather take someone who doesn't have 100% experience in what I'm looking for, but who has the potential and the desire to get there. To
Mhm.
me, that's a much better, candidate than someone who's 100% already knows what they're doing, and this is just like a very basic job for them, and they don't really care much. Like
Right.
when there's room for growth. I find that employees and associates are more likely to go above and beyond for the business to get there.
Right.
I buy
You know,
that.
Yeah, I think that's that's
Yeah.
correct.
Mhm.
They're striving to make it good, and they're willing
Right.
to work their way up. So
Yeah.
they're happy about it.
Mhm.
What about now? You have a personal relationship. You have a husband now in the mix. His business is, I gather, not in the jewelry business, or is
Correct.
he in the
Separate.
jewelry business?
No,
No,
totally
separate.
separate.
So does he have? Because this we talk about. How do you separate business time from marriage time or from relationship
Just like
time?
making time for both, having the
Right,
balance when you're
exactly.
both
On the
like,
weekend, when he's around and he's not working, is that your time, or is there an overlap of the business on the weekends? How are you managing that? Because this is a new thing in the
It's yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah, so it's still fairly new. I'm still kind of getting the hang of it, but from what I've seen, and from what I've been kind of trying to implement as much as possible is, during off season, I'm very available.
Right,
Where, Sundays, the weekends, we can go away, we can do anything. It's like whatever he wants, we're doing it.
right,
To me, the most important thing is I leave the office at the office. So I
right. Oh,
used
that's
to
great.
bring jewelry home with me. I used to bring my laptop with me, like not anymore. I leave it for the next day. It does suck. Sometimes I do have to come in a little extra early to finish, the work that I would have been doing till 7, 8 o'clock at night.
mhm.
Um, but we do have an understanding that with my business, Q4 is obviously like it's not normal what goes on in my office. Sometimes I'm here till 2 in the morning. And so we kind of like have that understanding that like there's gonna be 2 months in the year where I'm gonna
Right,
be extremely busy, where like we're both gonna have to understand that like there may not be dinner every single night, or there may not, like all these things. But he's very understanding
which
also.
is
And
good.
that was for me the biggest thing when I was dating him. I told him my business is my life. I know my business much longer than you. It's my name, it's my reputation. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, if something goes wrong, people look to me and ask me, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's very understanding of that. He knows that like obviously the business doesn't come before him, but he knows that for me the business is extremely important, and that it does rely a lot on me and on my decisions, and
Mhm.
so he's extremely understanding of that. Like I didn't want someone who's going to be jealous or
Right.
bitter if I'm like, on the phone with my employees at night or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
But he's awesome.
That's
That's
So
crazy
great.
to
So
me that
that's
someone
great.
that
would
goes a
even
very long
be
way.
bitter.
No, because people they
i've
want
i've
you all. Some
yeah,
people, you've had
yeah.
relationships where somebody wants you 100% of the time when they're with you, and they have to understand that
Yeah,
you
but
all.
no one's ever been like turn work off, I don't think.
Well, I don't know.
But I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
maybe they
I've
haven't.
heard, listen, I've heard crazy stories from
Yeah.
other women, and that was for me a big thing before getting married. Like I did ask other like
Right.
women bosses like, hey, how do you deal with it? Like,
Mhm.
and they did give me some tips like, don't discuss money, or don't, say how much you earn, or because some men can get offended by that if you make more money than them, or whatever the case may be. But like I've learned how to really turn off the emails and turn off the text messages, and like give him my time. Like for me, when I come home, my phone is away, and
Well,
Yeah.
that's great.
my employees all know that. Like you can't reach me after hours, unless it's like 5 minutes as I'm getting into bed and I'm just, going through my emails
Mhm.
one last time. Like there's no like phone calls or any of that. Like but it's like also you want that for yourself too,
Yeah.
like
True.
to have that
Private
work
time.
home balance. Like you want to have your own time. Like if not, it does become too much, like
Mhm.
I'm with them every single day. Sometimes I need my space too.
Yeah.
you know?
And also that balance doesn't only happen like when you get married. It's like being in a serious relationship in
Yeah,
general,
same
like
thing. It's the
creating the
same thing.
time. Yeah.
You have to at some point say, no, I'm leaving the office at home. But
Correct.
some people can't. They're on their phone. You see them all the time when you go to
Mhm.
a restaurant. You're wondering if
Yeah.
they're running General Motors, half
Yeah.
of them. But you've got a good balance, and
Mhm.
that's great.
Let's talk about using social media to grow the business. Obviously it's a lot different as you were saying, like Instagram then versus now. Do you have advice for people of how to kind of like break through all of the noise and the saturation and like
And also some advice on how a young person can start today, which is, really you're a wonderful example of
Mhm.
how a woman can be an entrepreneurial at a very young age. And there's so many people out there looking to work for
Yeah. I mean,
themselves.
she made Forbes 30 under 30 in 2022.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
really
How
great.
did that feel finding that out also?
Feels good.
Um, it was shocking, honestly. I really did not, I mean, they did reach out to me prior saying that
Hmm.
they wanted to interview me, then
Yeah.
they interviewed me again. But I mean, there was like no communication on their part. It was like, we can't tell you anything else, we can't tell you who nominated you, like we're not giving you any information. They asked me a couple of questions and that was it. And then it was like, you'll find out when the list
comes
is
out.
revealed,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Wow.
it was crazy to see my name there. It was absolutely like surreal. I'm not going to say it changed my life overnight, like, but like what it did do was it gave me the
Yeah.
legitimacy that
Right.
I think a young entrepreneur needed. My brother and I were, I'm 27, he's 25. Like, it was like we wanted that legitimacy, that stamp of approval from like this major, major, massive like company saying like, hey, this business is legit. It's not a scam company. They're not, making their money just by posting a couple of bloggers or influencers on their Instagram. Like, they have a real company. They're running this real major business, and it's going to be a brand that's going to last, and not just, like a one day thing and then we're done tomorrow.
Right.
Mhm.
But in regards to Instagram, I mean, I'm sure if anyone who has Instagram today, whether they use it for business or not, knows that things have completely changed. The algorithm, basically, who's seeing your posts, they're changing to a video slash real, feed company. They're not looking for pictures anymore. They're following TikTok. Um, so a lot has changed for us. We never, ever, ever posted a video. It was always pictures. There was pictures and then tagging products and then storing it and all of that. Um, Today, like, we had to hire a videographer. So that's like another person on payroll. That's a whole other job description.
Mhm.
That's adding more time to every photo shoot. So like so many things that have had to change. And like, if you don't move with the times, you're going to be left behind. And I think the biggest thing with Instagram is like, yes, it's very saturated, but you have to be different. You have to be recognized for something specific, whatever that may be. And you have to ride that forever. Like, that's who you are, that's your persona.
Yep.
That's what you have to have. So, like, for you, for example, like, your grandma is always with you in every video and every picture. Like, don't ever like stop that, because
Mhm.
that's your whole entire image. It's your entire look. So like, even if the fights get annoying, like, grandma is the vibe. And like,
Yes.
that's what, like, when I see that, I'm like, I know exactly who this is, because like, not
There's a
everyone is
million 20-something-year-old girls who
like
like
doing
want to talk about
that.
lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and like,
yeah.
even with podcasts, like, every day
Yeah.
someone else is creating a podcast, but like,
Right.
what makes you different is that, you're hosting with your grandmother. You have someone who's older, who's giving more like insightful, asking like really like experienced questions, and then you, who's like, I want to learn from this because this is what I'm going to be trying tomorrow. So like, you get that, you get both of those worlds, which is incredible.
Thank
Use
you.
that to your advantage. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
feel like nowadays people are just like, oh, this is what this person's doing, I'm going to do that too.
Right.
But
Right.
that's how you saturate the market. And then it just, for the
It's too
person who
much.
started it, yeah, it gets much harder.
Mhm. Yeah. And you've worked with, A-list celebrities have been seen wearing your stuff. And do you have an approach when it comes to working with influencers and content creators and doing sponsored posts? And would you say it's like necessary for a lot of these companies?
I think it's extremely important,
Mhm.
100%. I mean, for us in the beginning, we were getting approached by stylists, by agents, by publicists. We didn't even know what that whole world entailed. We didn't even know, the difference between product placement and then just, gifting.
Mhm.
Um, it's two different worlds. But yes, when someone like, Kylie Jenner wears your necklace, yeah, your website all of a sudden is getting 10 times the traffic, 10 times the sales. You're seeing a crazy uptick. It's phenomenal. It's incredible to see. It was very unexpected. But when we saw those first few, like the consequence, kind of like what happened because of it, we kind of got more aggressive with that. And so we were like, hey, we'd love to gift you. We know that the Met Gala is coming up. Like, let us know if you need pieces. We'll send you
Mhm.
whatever you need to your hotel. And many times, like, We send one of our girls from here on the train with a bag filled with jewelry. They're trying it on there, sending back the rest, you know, like, so you have to, you test something out, it works, it happened unexpectedly. Now it's like, okay, if this worked and we weren't even expecting that, let's go after it now, let's be aggressive. And one thing I always say about being so young is that we had nothing to lose. You know, it was like, just do it. Like we had
Yeah.
no expense, we were living in my parents' home. I mean, why not risk it, you know? And it helped us tremendously. And today we don't really look just at, you know, how many followers you have, or like, that's not us. Like, we gift to anyone because we believe that anyone is an influencer, whether you have 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers, someone is going to purchase, someone's going to follow. And for us, that's important. You know,
Is there such thing as an overnight success?
I personally don't think there's overnight success. I think a lot of times people may have a scenario where gets them that overnight million that they were looking for, but it doesn't negate the fact that they've been working on getting to that point for so long. So, for example, we started our business, everything was going fine. We're working out of my parents' basement. All of a sudden, we get a DM or like a message from Madison Beer. We send her some jewelry, no promises that she's going to post. But she does, and she tags us. Overnight, we gained about 20,000 followers. And this is when we were still very small. So like, imagine seeing someone like Kim Kardashian posting a company that's super, super small. You're like, are they really legit? But like, you take the risk, right?
Yeah.
We were tiny. We didn't even have 10,000 followers, you know? The next morning we woke up, we have about 30,000 followers, orders, like we couldn't even keep up with the orders. Tomorrow, though, people are going to forget about that post. So how do you keep those people for the day after tomorrow? You know what I mean? And that's where people, okay, yes, there could be an overnight moment, but it's what you do after that really determines whether you're going to stay in business or not.
Yeah, and hopefully the people who bought them on that spot, because some personality suggested it, then they have friends. So that's the continual thing where each person is important. It takes a village.
Yeah.
So it does. And it really, really does. And then it's like, you want to bring in other people, but you also want to keep these people. And it's like, you have to now really race against the clock to get those people back in.
Yeah.
And do you have particular I'm sure Valentine's Day and Christmas, Hanukkah, there are certain holidays that are your peak seasons, correct?
Correct. Yes,
Well,
like
and your
Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. And of course now, like, this is our peak season. Yeah.
So the summer months are basically where you could do your designing and catch up with a lot of your other things.
Basically. So like basically in the summer, we do a lot of catch up, like in July, August. And then now like January, February, we'll be catching up also for the spring, summer. Yeah.
How do you get inspiration for designing?
I was just thinking that. Do you go overseas at all? Like,
I do.
I know you said you're going to the UK, but would you go to different areas and see different designs, different cultural I was even thinking of like going to Marrakesh or going to Turkey or going to any of these other countries that have a different kind of look. Is that part of it?
Very, very big part of it. 100%. I travel.
So it's fun too.
I travel a lot to, yes, it is. I travel a lot to Turkey. I travel a lot to Europe.
Yeah.
For me, you know, seeing sometimes just seeing someone walking on the street wearing something that you never see in New York, you'd never see someone wearing here, could give you a whole vision for an entire collection. And I think that's what people don't realize sometimes. It could be a color. It could be a handbag that Chanel just released. It could be, you know, you don't even know what, that like just gives you this whole entire idea of a complete collection. And like, you want to use it for the time that you're going into. So now we're basically prepping spring, summer. I saw, you know, I don't remember what I saw, but I think it was maybe Valentino did this earring with like enamel. And I was like, hold on, let's do a whole enamel look. You know, let's go back to those strong colors, you know, like
spring
everyone's
colors, hot
doing the
pink.
and exactly. And I'm like, let's do that. I'm like, let's do that. Let's incorporate that into our line. I'm not going to go make a collection of 100 pieces for it, but those few pieces will add a lot to the collection that I'm going to be dropping. And it's going to take the collection much further.
Mhm.
That-
What do you
yeah.
see as the jewelry trends right now or for like, winter 2023? Like are people, I don't know, are people stacking or like what do you see people wearing?
I'm seeing less stacking and I'm
Mhm.
seeing more chunky. I feel like people are looking more for that one-off, statement piece as opposed to just stacking. I think in the summer, people usually like to stack because you're wearing less clothing.
Right.
You're wearing
Right.
thinner clothing, so like you want to show that neck, like that neck stack. But in the winter, like you're wearing a turtleneck, like you want to just wear something chunky, one piece, a nice hoop that matches, and you're good to go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
And
good to go.
the holidays are obviously coming up as well. If you're gonna gift jewelry to someone, is there something you would like recommend or a specific item maybe guys out there who are kind of clueless can lean toward?
So I feel like it doesn't really matter what your budget is because we do fashion, we do fine. I feel like a tennis bracelet is always the way to go. Like I think it's so
Neutral.
chic
And
yet simple
romantic,
and
kind
like
of. Yeah.
timeless, exactly, and romantic. So like if you're dating someone for a month, don't get her a tennis
Yeah.
bracelet. But like if it's been like a year or 6 months, or like even if it's your wife, like you want to splurge, get her like a real diamond tennis, like that's really, I think, always the nicest gift. I feel like if you're young, love, get like a cute engravable bar necklace or like an
Yeah.
engravable heart necklace, but like I feel like really if you're looking for that more, if you're older and you're in a more serious relationship, I think a tennis bracelet is always the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. Also we didn't talk about your when you decided to go and get brick and mortar store. Um, where do you see that trend going? Like, are you gonna open up more? Do you see other companies kind of scaling back and focusing more on e-commerce?
So I think brick and mortar is going to be very strong for the next 2 years at least. Given that we are really in a recession and it's just going to continue progressing, I think e-commerce is taking a step back. Um, Amazon obviously
Mm.
has pretty much taken over the entire e-commerce industry,
Mhm.
and it's like you're competing with them. So why compete with them if you can have a brick and mortar and basically compete with nobody unless it's another jewelry company on the block or in that radius. So we are going to definitely be opening more brick and mortar. I think by the end of like in 2023 we're planning on opening another 2 stores, and I think it's extremely important because yes, you only get the people who are walking in that area or who are visiting or the locals, but there's nothing like walking into a store and making a purchase. I think even me as an avid online shopper, like I only shop online. When I walk into a store, I'm more likely to make a purchase as opposed to, logging onto their site and seeing what they have.
Mhm.
And so I find that also with jewelry, being that it's like so personal and small and dainty, people do like to see it in person, try it on. And the conversion rate is higher. So why not?
Mhm.
You know?
And the Adina Eden store is in like the heart of Soho, so it's an amazing location.
Yes.
If you opened up another store, would it be in New York City as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking on opening up another store in New York, different area completely. But I think that New York, right now, you cannot compare New York to any other state. New
We
York is
agree.
on fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
New York is on fire. Like I've went to so many different states, scouted incredible areas, and let me tell you, there is nothing like New York.
Mm,
Yeah.
Love
Nothing.
that. So we would love to end the episode with a game that we play with our guests, Grandma Gail's old fashioned dating quiz. So we're
Okay.
gonna go through some hypotheticals and then deem whether you are more of a
Well, she's no
traditional
longer a
dater.
dater.
Just
Okay.
hypothetically, your outlook on romance is
Right.
more
Exactly.
old fashioned or modern.
Right.
Okay. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Would you rather receive a call or a text from your partner if it's just to say hi?
Call.
Would you sleep with someone on the first date?
No.
Dating apps or setups?
Setups.
What? You met your husband on a dating app. Okay.
Still
See?
setups. Still setups.
Okay. Move in together before getting engaged or wait until you're engaged or married to live together?
Wait till I'm married.
And who should pay for the date? Should it be like one person in the relationship or you always split or alternate?
The man always.
Oh,
She's my side. All the way over on grandma's side.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
you are very traditional. Adina, thank you so much for joining us today. We had so much fun. Tell everyone how they can check out your jewelry and follow you and anything else you want them to know.
Thank you. Yeah. So you guys can find my Instagram page. It's Adina Eden _. We're adinaeden.com. And for me personally, my Instagram is it's Adina Eden. So that's pretty much it. And you could find us in Soho or in Dumbo for one of our stores and get free piercings and just like have the best time.
Oh, my best friend was like, where can I get an ear piercing? Because hers closed up. Now I know.
Yes.
I didn't
in
know what
both
to
our
tell her.
stores. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Yes.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. This was so much fun. Hope you guys liked the episode with Adina.
I think she was so smart in how she's doing things and how she's reaching out to people, and I think it's a really a bright star in the business world that a young girl can come with very little and create such a success. So good luck to her. Kim, before we end it, don't forget to remind people, anybody who's in the Palm Beach area, on Sunday, December 11th, Kim and I are going to do an Excuse My Grandma show at Temple Emmanuel in Palm Beach on North County Road. So if you're in the area, check it out.
And it'll be 11 a.m. and we'll promote it on our social media just in case you forget. Okay, another great episode of Excuse My Grandma. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Excuse My Grandma. Share this with your friends, and we'll see you next week.